Good morning again. I've had the privilege for the last 2 years, I think the greatest privilege in our industry, and that's to serve as the chairman of the board of directors for the Transportation Intermediaries Association, serving you, serving our industry, and it's been a real pleasure. I feel like this industry is in my DNA. I feel very much as if TIA is part of my family's legacy. As many of you know, my father, Bill, was one of the co-founders of TIA in 1978. He co-created the CTB program. Thanks. His CTB certificate shows number 2. I'm not sure why he isn't number 1, but anyway, he's number 2, which is pretty cool. But what not everyone knows is he's second generation in the business. I'm third generation. I'm 26 years in, 14 as CEO. My grandfather actually started the business in 1961, and I found some interesting paperwork when I was doing some research. Anyone that knows my dad knows that he's a meticulous note keeper, and I've got secretary reports on TIA's first meetings back at the office. It was called TBCA at the time. And I was looking for something in particular. I came across this piece of paper that covered a whole year of his trying to buy this broker license. And I want to tell you a little his story through this piece of paper. At 50 years old, this will probably sound familiar. At 50 years old, 3 kids, a house, and a job, he decides he wants to try to buy a broker license. Does that sound familiar to anyone in this room? I mean, that's, you tell someone outside of the industry that story and like, it's got to be crazy. I'm 48 myself. I'm wondering if I could go out and just quit and start it. I guess I could. I think I could. But anyway, so he spent years as a traffic manager, years as a carrier sales representative. And this document I want to show you real quick is that's his handwriting. This thing's in pristine condition. It's from 1960. It spanned into 1961. What I want to bring your attention to is this. This guy named Abraham Moyer in Philadelphia was ill, old. He had been running a brokerage for many years. There were brokers back then, but it was a pretty obscure thing. There were maybe 6 or 7 of them at the time in the whole country. And this was his handwriting. The asking price, $1,500. Down payment, $300. 3 months of no payment. It sounds like a little bit like a sofa purchase, right? And then $100 a month thereafter, and this was a good deal. He was about to sign the deal, and then I guess he got cold feet. Maybe the financing wasn't there, I'm not sure. But he stopped, and in whisks this guy to buy the license before him. And I kid you not, his name was Johnny Walker. And Johnny bought the license, and unfortunately, the Interstate Commerce Commission, where you file your bond, revoked his license because he never filed his bond. So my grandfather stepped back in 1961, and this next slide shows he had the conversation on August 29th. He said, yeah, the guy was going to mail him the certificate. He didn't want to wait, so he drove over to Philadelphia a couple days later, picked up the license, and that's when we were born. I found something else interesting. Where are our bond people? Any bond people in the room? I know Nancy's sitting right here. Get a load of this. The surety bond was $5,000. You didn't have to put the money away. And $62.50 premium. $62. Where's that today? All right, okay. Well, it's a new day, and it's a new time. And it's a little scary, it's a little exciting. And, you know, I think what we do now as an industry in the next 3 to 5 years is going to spell success or failure for our businesses and for our industry. But before we move on, I just want to take a step back again, just over the last 2 years, and I think we've accomplished a lot as TIA. You've just seen here on the stage examples of our pushing and encouraging diversity within our industry. We've had record growth. We're at 1,750 members, and we're hoping for 1,900 next year. It's remarkable. And 2 years ago on this stage, my brother Jim and I gave you an example of our very personal but very professional transition planning from second to third generation. We had psychologists working with us, we had financial planners, accountants, attorneys, and this year, this summer, a few months away, you've probably already heard about it, but we're going to have our first legacy meeting, and that's going to be focused on how you transition a company. Transitioning from the second to third generation, I think you might remember if you were here, is a 10% probability of success. So if you're thinking about transitioning business from first to second, second to third, or from family to non-family, you ought to be at this meeting. If you're thinking about it in the next 5 to 10 years, you ought to be at this meeting. It's going to be a great one. It's also the 10th anniversary of the Carrier Selection Framework, and I'm going to give you a spoiler alert if you want to close your earmuffs. This is another year where we're calling the CSA basic scores useless, even potentially dangerous for using for carrier selection. And the greatest regret that I have over the last couple of years really is the fact that we have not been able to pass reform in Congress over negligent hiring. So, in theory, with a Republican president and a Republican Congress, in theory, this is a kind of law that we'd think we'd be able to get passed, but it is Washington in 2017, and all bets are off. We've also worked tirelessly as a board and as an executive committee to work with and guide Bob and staff to be even more responsive to your needs as members than ever before. We've hired more staff to do that. We've created a strategic plan to handle the next few years to do that. And that's right where we need to be as TIA. We need TIA to be responsive, to be quick, and to focus on members over the next few years, because it's more important than any time before. So if you haven't already figured it out, there are people out there with billions of dollars of other people's money, and lots more where that came from, trying to take your business from you. And they don't want to pay you for it, they want to steamroll you. You're not going to get as much time as Austin Power gave this guy to get out of the way. So what's the role for the broker? I think it depends. I think it depends on me, it depends on you, it depends on our software providers, our technology providers. Are they going to help us be able to give our customers what our customers want? And sometimes it's not what our customers want, it's what, sometimes it's not what our customers need, it's what they want. I think data is going to dramatically increase the proportion of assets utilized for dedicated. Why? I think it's obvious, right? Data is going to be able to allow you to figure out where your trucks are going to be and what loads are going to be available, and why not make it easier as a carrier operation? That's going to have to shrink the spot market. We've already heard, and we'll hear more over the next couple of days, that bit by bit, the spot market is going to become automated, and no doubt at all, drivers, carriers, shippers, brokers, all going to have much better quality data as to what prices are going to be. All these things together are going to shrink the margins, right? Shrink the market in some ways. So I think it's more important now than ever before that you've got to ask yourself, are you delivering value? Are your customers understanding the value you're delivering? Can you measure it? I've got two recipes that I want to share with you. First one's here's a recipe for disaster. And that's if we only focus on load and truck matching over the next couple of years. If we only provide loads to our carriers. If we're using this year's technology next year. If our revenue is dependent upon good old-fashioned relationships, lunches and entertainment, friendships, and if we trust others to run this organization for us. But I like a different taste and smell a whole lot better, and that's success. It's not a given. We all have to work for it, and this is what I think it looks like. We can measurably improve the business operations of our customers and our carriers. That we rapidly deploy technology, new technology, like tracking, pricing, load matching, into our TMS like apps do today with our phones and electronics. Just for a second, just imagine this. There are more than half a dozen tracking companies out there with different offerings, right? I would love my TMS to be able to integrate all 6 of them rapidly. I'd love to be able to show one single Tucker screen to my customers that integrates all that stuff. I'd love for my customers to be able to drag and move around dashboards. I'd like them to be able to change the themes, the colors, right? Why not? We're way past that in so many apps. Why not? They may not need it, but they sure as heck want it. Our technology in 2018 is ahead of 2017, and we already know where we're going in 2019. Our IT providers are committed. They're on board. And finally, we have passionate members running and steering TIA. Excuse me. In summary, I've been privileged, as I said before, to be here to work with a great executive committee, a great board of directors. I said yesterday I felt as if I have been co-chair for the last couple of years with the executive committee team, and I mean that. I've really become reliant on such great minds. The very best in leadership is coming up through TIA. I can tell you that over the next 8 years that I can see outstanding people. But we need you. We need committed people to serve. It has been my privilege to serve you as chair of TIA, and I thank you for the time.